2 for the land up on top of the Mossman thing. Is that in here or is that in committee?
Probably be in committee, wouldn't it? Well, no, it's gotta be done now.
Good evening, members of council. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting for the Town of Pelham Council to order. Also welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and staff. We will begin with a invocation led by Councillor Papp, followed by the singing of the national anthem. All rise.
13-2B.
Let us bow our heads. Lord, to whom much is given, much is expected, grant that, as this council meets to take up the business of the people, they demonstrate wisdom in all their deliberations. May the decisions that are made in this place of government be guided by strength and courage. Be with each council member as they consider each policy, bylaw, and procedure placed before them. I might also add, if we have a moment of silence for the 3 young men who were tragically killed here on the weekend, and that we keep them in our prayers as we work through our deliberations this evening. So if you may bow your head for a moment. Thank you, and I also would like to add, if we may, send our best prayers and wishes to the members of our Olympic team as they embark to England. We have someone here locally who will also be participating in it, and we trust that they will come back and show us proud. Amen. O Canada, our home and native land, true patron of in all thy Son's command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Councillor Papp. Members of council, ladies and gentlemen. We'll begin with the adoption of the agenda. It has been moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak, that the agenda for the July 16th, 2012 regular meeting of council be adopted. Are there any additions to the agenda? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At 13.1, which will become Article B, an announcement regarding a member of our Pelham Heritage Committee.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Papp? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor on that amendment? That amendment is carried. Any other amendments to the agenda? There being none, I call the question on the agenda as amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Do any members of council have any disclosures they'd like to make? Councillor King.
Mayor, I have a pecuniary interest with item 16.4, bylaw 3282, for personal reasons.
Thank you. Any other declarations? Councillor Kersey?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a problem with 13-2B, as it may impact on a property that my family owns.
Okay, thank you. Others? Can that be noted in the minutes, please? The next item is presentations. We have I'm assured, a very short presentation from our treasurer regarding the consolidated financial statements for the town of Pelham.
Was that a hint?
Is that a hint? Or solvent?
Oh, Councillor Kersey, just a moment, please.
Yes, the matter that Councillor Kersey has disclosed the pecuniary interest on is item 13.2B. which also is considered in item 16.3, the bylaw.
Bylaw.
So is it for
Is
those?
that noted as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Madam Treasurer, quick presentation regarding
Thank
the
you, Mr. Mayor.
audited financial
It will be
statements.
very short and sweet. As council is aware, we adopted the Town of Pelham financial statements in May, and we were waiting for our subsidiary owner's equity report from Peninsula West Power. We have thus received the final financial statements from them. They are now incorporated into ours, or consolidated into our statements and being finalized. You'll note the change is only for the owner's equity portion of the subsidiary. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions to our treasurer? There being none, it's been moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak, that council receive and approve the consolidated financial statements of the Town of Pelham as at December 31st, 2011, and the independent auditor's report submitted by Deloitte and Touche LLP. Any discussion to the matter? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is delegations. I think we're missing somebody from the Solar Power Network. Are we? Yes? So we don't have that individual here, but we do. So we'll go with the second delegation, council. Darren Parberry, who is with Meaty Transit, is here. And if you wouldn't mind joining us at the lectern, please.
Good evening, members of council, mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, I'm here to present to you with the option of providing municipal-style public transit system at no cost to town of Pelham. How can it be done? Actually, quite effectively. Our system is based on 50% fares and 50% ad revenue from the local business. For most transit authorities, what they do is they go after the big businesses for their advertising. Our goal, because we're a community-based system, we're going after that small police business that wants to advertise that can't. So we're making it affordable as low as $70 a month for them to advertise. AG Transit is basically an Aboriginal owned and operated municipal style public transit system. So hence, that's why we're community based. Before we actually begin service, we actually survey the community first. We ask people if they want service, if they do, where they want it, and how often they'll use it. Process takes generally about a year, so you won't see the buses rolling right away. With permission of council, and the only thing we ask from council is just a support letter to begin the process of surveying the community, asking very simple 6 basic questions. That's basically all we require from council. In terms of elaboration on the system itself, fare structure is simplified. It's $2 for standard cash fares for regular routes and community bus routes. Community bus routes would be traveling in areas where a regular bus would not fit, and it would bring those people that want access that can't, i.e. people that have disabilities, people in wheelchairs. Our buses will be 100% accessible, period. In all honesty, if I can't make it up a bus, and with my back issues, if I can't do it, I don't expect anybody else to do it. And in all honesty, I had a little surprise a couple of months ago, but we won't go into full elaboration on that, but let's just say due to my disability, it caused my death. I kid you not. But that's why I'm saying, you know what, we have to look after the community. We have to create mobility for everybody. Not just those people who can walk, but those people who can't, who want to be able to go out to Pelham, to all these events, especially your big event coming up in a couple of days. A lot of people in Pelham you want to bring to those events. Most people have cars, some people don't. How do you get it from point A to point B? You create the mobility. Going back to the cash fares, it's $4 for premium express routes, which are from point A to point B and back to point A. In terms of your passes, there'll be weekly passes and monthly passes. They'll be valid on all 3 types of routes. So it doesn't matter what type of vehicle you board, what route you board, your pass is still valid. Your weekly passes are not valid from Monday to Sunday. They're valid for 7 days from the time you tap on our electronic fare boxes, and then it's valid 7 days thereafter. Community days is the most important thing as part of our system. Give you a prime example. Let's say there's a food drive going on in the community. what we will do for every person who brings on a bag of food, we will discount their cash fare by 50%. That food will go back to the community itself. Fundraising, same thing. That day, for every person who comes on, 50% of the cash revenues we receive for that day will go towards fundraising. That's just an example of our community days. In terms of the history, this is where we go way back. The Aboriginal people basically have been providing public transit for 200 years through the old traditional method of canoe. We're now taking that method from canoe and we're bringing it to a bus. So we're modernizing. In terms of infrastructure, this is where we look after it. The shelters, the benches, we look after. The shelters will be solar paneled. So in terms of, it's ironic that there would be a delegation before us talking about solar panels. All the lighting around of our bus stops, if there's no lighting available, we will put lighting up again, solar panel. We're actually converting our buses so they operate on solar panels as well for the interior of the lighting. We're going to be as green as possible. Feedback, constantly. Very constantly. People can feedback on the website. They can talk to the driver who jots the information down. People call their customer service number, the information gets jotted down. It doesn't get shoved aside, it gets looked at every night. So there's constant feedback, which is the best thing you can do for a transit system. So you know what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, where you can improve, where you can expand. It's all about the community. And that's basically it.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. I wonder if members of council have any questions for you. Councillor Ribbiak, then Councillor Durley.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Are you set up anywhere? Are you operating anywhere?
In terms of operations, we're actually putting the final touches on. We're halfway through the process right now of operating in the county of Peterborough, which is over 3,000 square kilometers. We're just finishing off the surveys.
But not yet operational?
In terms of bus, no. Canoe, yes.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor?
No, I think I've been answered.
Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Your opening comment said at no cost to the municipality, and the written presentation you said at almost no cost. I mean, which is which? Because the word almost sort of gives me an alarm.
No, in terms of the almost no cost, that would be for municipalities that currently have a system. And if they want us to assume their system, we would then say, okay, well, we would say, okay, it would cost you X amount of dollars to begin with, and then gradually down to zero. But since Pelham has no system, I'm telling you straight out, no cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Councillor Pat?
Well, thank you for the presentation. It's one of the things we've been playing around with, if you want to call it, for the last decade or so. Mr. Parberry, are you aware of the region's running an intermunicipal transit pilot project?
Yes.
So how do you see that fitting in with what's being done at the region?
We're going to be working with all transit authorities so we can link up. We're also going to be working with other municipalities to see if we can provide service so we can link up everybody together. Initially, what we want to do is link up the entire town of Pelham together first, and then grow from there.
Mr.
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
Are you planning on making a presentation to the region as well and the other transit authorities, the local transit authorities here?
We've actually delegated to 2 different committees up at the region.
Okay,
We haven't been to the regional council yet.
okay. Okay.
Thank you. Anything further?
Well, I just,
Councillor Pat?
sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to, the county of Peterborough, the county itself,
That's right.
passed a resolution to engage your services to do the survey. Is that correct?
Each municipality, because of the way the rules and regulations are written by the Ontario Highway Transport Board, we have to deal with each municipality locally. So we're working with all 9 municipalities in the county of Peterborough.
So the city of Peterborough, there's, I forget the others,
There's actually Smith Innismore, Lakefield,
Right.
North Kawartha, Galway, Cavendish, Harvey, Otonabee, South Monaghan,
okay.
as well as Priv Lake First Nations, Hiawatha First Nations.
All right. I'm just trying to wrap my head around, so let me just get to the bigger one, the city, pardon me, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead.
The city of Peterborough, are you doing a survey there? They run their own transit system?
They have their own system.
Yeah, so you're just doing it for the outlying areas that have no system itself?
That's correct.
Okay, that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? The survey results, are they exclusively yours?
No, they're available for everybody once we're completed.
Available for everybody? And with this letter of support, what does it mean? Does it mean that then, if the survey results are favorable,
Then we proceed to the next
And-
step.
but the town would then go,
Well, we would go
with
back
you
to the town and say,
exclusively,
okay,
is
here's the
that-
final survey results.
sorry, I didn't hear you, I apologize.
What we do is, once we get the survey results, and it has, for me personally, it has to achieve a minimum 60% that say yes, they want transit, then we'll go back to each local municipality and say, okay, here are the survey results, here's your copies. We proceed to the next step, which is working with each individual transportation departments and council to start the service.
Okay, so a letter of support would mean then that you would then, if you get a green light, then you would operate the service?
Once we get the letter of support, we start the surveys right away. Because without that letter of support, we will not start the surveys.
Okay, and then the next step is you would provide the service?
Yep.
Is there a time frame with that operation? Is it 5 years, 10 years?
No, actually, once the surveys are done, which generally take about a year, then the process should be about 6 months thereafter.
Sorry, I wasn't clear in the question. How long then would you operate the service?
As long as the people want it.
Okay.
We,
All right.
in terms of operating the service, we know that there's people out there that want it. And we would run every route possible so it balances out, so it's not like a money maker, money loser type system. We try and balance out the whole system. So every route ends up making money. That's why, you know, some sections of routes may not work, but if we move it over here, it may work. With us, we do constant, not only surveys, but we do passenger counts. So we'll know what areas work, what areas don't. So by the people just writing it, they'll tell us whether it's working here or it's working there. They can even request bus stops and services. It's so open and transparent. That's why it's a community-based system, because the people themselves are involved.
Any other questions by members of council? So I do have a motion moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Papp, that the information received from Media Transport Limited Public Transportation Service be received. Any comments or questions to that? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wonder if, where did she go? Melissa Clark, is she here? Yes, you are. Thank you. Looks like our first delegation is here. Thank you very much for joining us. We skipped ahead in the agenda a little bit.
I apologize for my lateness.
You just hold on for a moment. The clerk will help you with your presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Please proceed.
Members of council, thank you very much, and again, I apologize for my tardiness. My name is Melissa Clark, and I represent a small energy company called Solar Power Network. We're based in Windsor and in Toronto. We do rooftop solar exclusively, and we've been in business since 2009. I'm here today to talk to you about the Ontario Power Authority's mandate to gain support and agreement from local municipalities in which we have energy initiatives to garner prioritization points that get attributed to those applications to boost them in the ranking opportunity and therefore to garner contracts from the OPA. So this request of a resolution has nothing whatsoever to do with any of your due diligence or any of your licensing processes or any of your planning processes. This is really solely about points to the benefit of your local constituent who is going to make an application for a rooftop solar initiative. So in the town of Pelham, we currently have one partner. We could have more in the future, but at present, really just one partner, the Topas on Roland Road. And they represent a building with about 8,000 square feet of usable rooftop space on which we would like to build a low-profile rooftop installation. So we're here to support the Topas in hopes of getting them prioritization points, and we're here to assure you that we are endeavoring to build safe, renewable energy initiatives in your municipality. Do I have to go down?
Oh, it's over there. There we are.
Great.
The clerk shut off the system. That's why we're having a little technical difficulty. So we're pleased you're here, and that's what the hiccup is, but it's on, so.
As I mentioned, Solar Power Network is a solar power company that utilizes leased rooftops of industrial or commercial spaces to build low-profile rooftop installations. We're a completely Ontarian company. We specialize in the installation of domestically manufactured solar panels on unused commercial, industrial, and institutional rooftops. We do not do microfit. We don't do households. Thus far, only the one partner here, but we are seeking council's endorsement to develop this particular rooftop initiative. The endorsement will, under the new feed-in tariff rules, grant priority to the local business in receiving these points, and hopefully speed them on their way. The reason for this point scenario is that there is a scarcity of megawatts being made available by the OPA to renewable initiatives in general. So we're all vying for a small pot of megawatts in 2012. So without the points, chances are an applicant would move to the bottom of the bucket and might not get a contract at all in 2012. So I have a copy of the resolution here that I'd like to read to you just so that in its literal context you can understand how innocuous it really is. So this is the prescribed blanket support resolution from the Ontario Power Authority. Whereas the province's FIT program, FIT stands for Feed-in Tariff, encourages the construction and operation of rooftop solar generation projects, and whereas one or more projects may be constructed and operated in Pelham, and whereas pursuant to the rules governing the FIT program, the FIT rules, applications whose projects receive the formal support of municipalities will be awarded priority points, which may result in these applicants being offered a FIT contract prior to other persons applying for FIT contracts. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Pelham, Town of Pelham, supports without reservation the construction and operation of the projects anywhere in the Town of Pelham. This resolution's sole purpose is to enable the participants in the FIT program to receive priority points under the FIT program and may not be used for the purpose of any other form of municipal approval in relation to the application or projects or any other purpose. So, although a great run-on sentence, I think the intent is fairly simple. It's as simple and as complex as that. I guess I'd answer any questions that you have pertaining to either the particular application or the resolution in general.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Do members of council have questions? Councillor Ribbiak, Councillor Clark.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Curious to know about the impact of this in terms of the overall industry. If we pass this resolution, is it particular to Solar Power Network and particular to that particular contractor?
So, yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
It actually is a choice. So I have utilized the blanket support resolution form, which means you can either pass a resolution supporting solar power network, and then any other companies that come knocking at your door with partnerships in town of Pelham will have to go through this same process. That allows you to have control. If you decided to go to a rooftop solar blanket, that would cover any other rooftop solar companies that were to come knocking on your door and perhaps remove a number of exercises from your plate. You could take it up to 20,000 feet, and you could pass a blanket renewable initiatives resolution that would include rooftop solar, land mount solar, wind, and biogas. So those are quite different entities. I have found, and I'm speaking with 54 municipalities like yourselves, I have found that generally speaking, as I've gone through this process, parsing those very different renewable initiatives into bite-sized pieces, rooftop is rooftop, anything that might impact land use, for instance, would be a very different beast, that folks tend to be allocating their resolutions in that manner. But it is absolutely your choice. You can deal with control over one company at a time, or you can expand or contract the resolutions as you see fit.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you. So for clarity, if we pass this, it means the Solar Power Network can contract with a number of owners of rooftops throughout the town, and we wouldn't have to pass another one. But if competitor A comes into town, we would have to pass another one. Are you saying that the only next level is one that incorporates a variety of different, or can there be a blanket that says?
We could make some small adjustments to this, and you could say that you resolve to support solar rooftop initiatives in the town of Pelham. End of story. You do not have to affix a company name.
Got it. And it doesn't have to extend beyond rooftop solar to ground mount or wind or anything else?
No, they really are birds of a very different feather from a planning perspective.
Okay, thank you. My point is...
Just for clarity on that, there's no company name in the resolution that you...
I've used the blanket.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
This is very different than the last solar experience we had here. And I'm afraid that with this, we might be unleashing another cat that we might have to deal with after the fact. Not doubting your words or your company or your comments, but what we went through the last time was all after the fact, and we chased it and chased it and chased it only to find out that we had no jurisdiction over it all. Now you're telling us that we do have the opportunity for that. So I find it very confusing and a little bit intimidating. So my comments on this is that I think we should send this to our planning department to see if there's any research at different levels that can be done, and even to have it go to our legal department to see if there's any legal implications before we go and unleash solar panels on all the buildings on the town of Pelham.
Okay, thank you.
I like the idea of solar panels, but I was not happy with the way the last one went.
Yeah, thank you. Just to help you out, to fill in the blanks for, it was regarding a ground mount solar that essentially filled someone's backyard.
Right.
And now I understand that the provincial government has changed the regulations to that. You want to just discuss that for a moment?
By way of the mayor, as I say, they're very different, birds of a very different feather. From a planning perspective, and certainly from an impact perspective, roof mount solar is quite unobtrusive, and particularly in the way that Solar Power Network executes on rooftop solar. Most rooftop solar initiatives use a 20 to 30 degree angle representation to maximize sun at our elevation. We don't. We use about a 5 degree, so so it's virtually a flat roof mounting scenario. We do this for a number of reasons. We've actually found more efficiencies in the panels we're using, but we also get more rooftops that can hold our weight load requirements because we don't get panels working like sails, we don't get drifting under our panels, and we also use a non-penetrating approach to mounting our panels on rooftops. So very low angle, most can't even be seen from the street. They certainly conform to the existing building guidelines, planning, measurement requirements of any building that is already in existence. So there are really no extraordinary planning issues from that perspective. And any building initiative and any time that we would be connecting to a local power connectivity scenario, we have to go through all the hoops and do anything that the town of Pelham would ask us to do, come what may. But we're not actually building anything in addition to the existing building structure that is already on the property. And even that is in a very low impact way.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, again, just for your, and again, back to our previous example was that we had no jurisdiction, the building department had no jurisdiction, the planning department had no jurisdiction. And again, nothing personal, but to take your word for it tonight to approve this, I think would be not very prudent of myself anyhow, won't speak for everyone else, without getting more information from other than just your source. I did read your information, it does sound very interesting, but I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable if we have something to back that up.
By way of the
Go
mayor,
ahead.
I just, I appreciate your previous experience. I would just say that, you know, the resolution as it reads, it's actually been crafted by the OPA. All it is asking for is that points prioritization scenario. So from a comfort perspective, we're not working around any of your existing policies. The only other thing I would add to that is, as of last Thursday, the OPA tabled their final draft for the microfit rules for 2012. We've been waiting for these since early April. And the window for folks who are interested in microfit applications who in fact may have had applications sitting at the OPA for a year, they have to withdraw their applications and they have to reapply with all of the new hoop jumping exercises attached. And they have to do that by the end of August. So those are for individual scenarios. We are waiting for the same set of requirements and timelines. We believe that we too will be held to the end of August for going through any municipal resolution processes that are outstanding when the final rules drop. So I think doing your due diligence is a great idea, give you comfort. I would only caveat that by saying that for our 8,000 square foot property that we're looking at currently, if we miss the window of opportunity, if you good folks take summer vacation and there's more than a 4 week or 6 weeks lapse in the due diligence process, then the points just won't get attributed. We can't come back to the well. So I encourage you to gain comfort, but we are working with timelines. So I have actually been out here doing presentations like this without the final set of rules for the better part of 2 months, trying to persuade people to spend time to gain understanding about a project that isn't even law, because they don't want to disenfranchise their constituents by not getting it done in a timely manner. So that would be my only ask, is that you appreciate that and in your considerations.
Okay, thank you. Further question, Councillor?
Just last comment. I mean, I can appreciate your time, but again, we only have one scheduled meeting for the balance of the summer. We do have a full menu already. And again, you know, this was not, the shortness of time has nothing to do with this building or this room. And again, with this building, I'm sure that their intentions are best, but if there is a problem, if this thing does this, that, or the other thing, we don't know. And what about the people that own the buildings next door to it, or that do have to look at what little bit of it sticks out? So I really think, again, I'm just speaking for myself, that again, I'm for green power, but again, we're being rushed through this. We haven't done our research.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. It's supposed to be the time for questions, so Councillor Durley,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I share the concerns that were brought forward by my colleague, Councillor Clark, but looking at the difference between a one-off and what this resolution actually says, that the town of Pelham supports without reservation the construction and operation of the projects, I think that indicates to me that we may be giving up any kind of a control. And through you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps to our planner, is there some way that this can be incorporated in our building permit structure, or is that in fact the provincial legislation that caused us the nightmare that we have in the backyard that was previously mentioned? But I'm looking at, this says to me that go ahead and do what you want to do, or we lost control, and I don't like that.
Mr. Lama?
Catch me a little quickly here.
Exactly, and
I
it caught us
anticipating
quickly, too.
speaking on the matter tonight. I can assure you, as Ms. Clark said, this application is quite different from the microfit program that resulted in that ground-mounted solar panel being erected in the rear yard of that residential subdivision. It's quite different. We are seeing solar panels being constructed on homes right now. This is, as Ms. Clark indicated, it is Ms. Clark, isn't it? Going on the agricultural building. And short of the building permit application and the new OPA regulations, I'm not sure that the municipality would really have an opportunity to say no, that you're not going to be doing this. Ms. Clark is indicating that this is speaking to points that are awarded in their analysis of the application. So I don't think that it's a matter of us saying no, it's a matter of us acknowledging and then the points being awarded. Again, I've only become aware of this. We have an application for microfit that just landed on our desk today. The forms came out last Thursday, didn't know anything about it really, so.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Durley?
Now, the words "without reservations" are what concerns me, and that indicates to me that you can do it as you will, and there may be some roofs out there that are in need of some support before the weight load and all of this good stuff. This is my concern. It's number one, a health and safety concern for our residents. Also, it's a controls concern that I feel that we would be remiss if we were to give that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, can you respond to that?
By way of the mayor, Councillor Durley, I understand the concern. We have leadership, health and safety within our company, so that can certainly be spoken to, and I can detail it for your planning department and whatnot, but that would be a very long discussion. I just think that by way of due process, I have not run into much concern over the resolution as it stands really interfering with your due process. But what I can say is that folks have modified it to suit their needs. So if without reservation is a particular thorn in your side and you think it represents something, take it out. This is a guidance document. We don't want it, changed whole scale, because then we might run into problems with the OPA when we submit it attached to the application. But if without reservation is the issue, I suggest to you that you remove it.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Questions from members of council? Councillor Papp?
Thank you, Ms. Clark. So the way I understand it, the resolution as sub-fitted here out of the FIT rules, and I'm not trying to put you in, I'm not putting you on spotty. So in other words, for these people to get the priority points in order to move ahead with the funding, they're looking for a form of a resolution of support from the local municipality? Is that what this is about?
No, it has nothing to do with funding. It has to do with getting a contract from the OPA.
A contract for what?
A contract that will permit them to build a rooftop installation on their building. They can't just build it without a contract, because this is going to feed power back into your grid.
To the hydro grid itself. So what has that got to do with us? Why would it, I mean, I'm being perfectly,
Yeah.
forgive me, without prejudice, I mean, why,
So I'll be
what does
very
that have to
blunt.
do with us?
prior to the last election, there was a huge kerfuffle with respect to wind turbines in a number
Right,
of
right.
municipalities in Ontario. The minister was not very happy
Right.
that those had not been duly vetted and that there wasn't a dialogue, a meaningful dialogue between the municipalities and the builders prior to those installations going up.
Right.
He lost ridings and he almost lost the election based on those issues. He does not want to see those repeated, so he has put the responsibility for having dialogue and for making sure that every municipality in which an initiative is going to be brought to the table is aware, firmly on the shoulders of the small energy companies. It's as simple as that.
And it's a queuing, right? With more points, you rise higher in the queue, is that correct?
That's correct. So there are 200 megawatts of
Right.
power available, and there are about 4,000 applicants. So there are way more applicants than megawatts available currently. We would like to see more megawatts attributed to the projects in all their forms, but currently that is not on the docket. So we've got a scarcity issue, and without points, they drop to the bottom of the pile, and they don't get access to those contracts.
Okay. Anything further, Councillor?
I will, but I'm still not, maybe I'm misunderstanding, I'm sorry, but I don't understand. So what's the big deal? If the municipality says, no, we don't want to pass this resolution, that applicant that currently now would not get a contract?
That's correct.
But that doesn't necessarily mean, with all due respect, would the contract be with you? By passing this resolution, I look at this, it could be any company from A to Z that provides rooftop power,
Yes. This
right? It's not you, it could be anybody.
No, that's true. This particular constituent has a lease agreement
With you.
Solar Power Network.
Right,
But you could
okay.
have another person standing here 2 weeks from
Right.
now, asking for the same thing for another partner,
Okay, thank you.
another constituent within your municipality who has signed a leasing agreement with another company.
Councillor, I do have other.
No, go right ahead, I'm learning something here that,
Okay.
I don't know why they have to come one by one if we pass one resolution, but
Well,
anyhow.
Just for clarity, I think we have the option to just pass one resolution for this particular
Right.
company.
Right,
What is being presented to us is actually, as it says there, a blanket support resolution
right.
for all companies coming forward. Is that not the case?
Yeah.
it's a blanket.
Okay.
So this is the literal blank that comes right off the OPA's website. It's just been reformatted. Perhaps it's confusing because it says Solar Power Network on the top. But you could support a resolution for SPN, you could support a resolution for rooftop solar, you could support a resolution for renewable initiatives.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kersey?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just for my own information, how long has this project been in the planning stages?
The municipal resolution?
No, the
initiative?
project that we're specifically dealing with here on Roland Road.
You know what? I don't know the date of the original lease. I can't answer that. I could get back to
A
you. on that.
month or two, or?
No, this is probably 6 months to a year. But the requirement for points, which I think is the real question, didn't roll down the pipe until April 5th. And we did not have visibility into a delay surrounding the final version of the points document until late May.
I guess I shouldn't make a comment, but if I may, and yet we now find ourselves at the middle of July, having to make a rush decision so that you can comply by August. I mean, it would have seemed to me that the dialogue should have started at least in May, when you knew that a points issue was going to be involved. Give us a chance to do our due diligence and be comfortable with it.
We did start reaching out to folks.
Right.
If I may.
Go ahead.
Wait, no. There are a number of companies who haven't even started to approach their municipalities yet because they don't believe that this dialogue should happen prior to the landing of the final points. They will be sorely out of luck when they get to the table. If the final description, the final draft, the final document is actually tabled next week and they start knocking on doors next week,
Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, is it possible to pass a resolution which would support the one project that is currently on the table?
yes.
So we don't have to have a broad-scale approval process?
No.
And
Deal with them as one-offs.
perhaps that might give more comfort around the table if we do a one-of until we learn more and gain a greater degree of comfort within the process.
Okay,
Just something to consider.
all right, thank you. Others for the first time? I have some questions for the first time, and I know that a couple of councilors have indicated they'd like to ask second round of questions. Is a building permit required then for this?
Yes.
Okay. Because it wasn't for the ground mount solar. What other municipalities have endorsed this type of blanket support resolution?
Norfolk County, Tecumseh, Mississauga, Sudbury, Seguin. I've got perhaps 22 that I'm seeing in the next 2 weeks in an environment like this. And I have perhaps 5 who have, the proposals have come through staff and that they are waiting, pending final document with recommendations to support the resolution already on the table. So of 54, I would say I probably have 20 passed already. And, you know, Mississauga would be a fairly large player. Tecumseh would be fairly small. And then there's a variety of in-betweens.
So you outlined 6 that said yes, but you said there's 22 pending, is that?
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah. I can.
No,
provide those
you
for
can't,
just don't remember
off the top of your head.
my
So there are roughly 22 or more than 20 that have endorsed the resolution already in Ontario. Okay. And what's the date upon which you said that you needed this or were hopeful to get this? I know you're obviously hopeful tonight to get some sort of resolution, but you also mentioned a date at the end of August.
So we believe that we have reliable information that says that we will have to have all of our applications resubmitted by the end of August. So
Okay.
we have 300 and some odd applications currently pending. We have to withdraw them all from the OPA. We have to attach, and this isn't the only points program, so there are other points attributes that we can attach to these proposals. We have to attach all of those things, including third-party engineering reports on the buildings and on the plans, and then we have to reapply. So, you know, could we, you know, be adding a resolution at the very last moment? Absolutely, we could. We're thinking end of August, and that's the most reliable information we have at this point.
Okay. Because I will note that we do have a next council meeting on
Right.
August 13th. So, thank you. Those are my questions. Councillor Rivyak and then Councillor Clark.
Thank
for
you,
a
Mr.
second
Mayor.
quick time.
Yes, quick, just to clarify the nature of the contract, you lease a roof, put panels, the panels feed into the system, and you are paid for the electricity that the roof generates, and you pay the roof owner a lease amount for the space. That's the nature of the
FIT program.
the deal. And what we're doing is participating in what the government has determined to be a way of giving municipalities some say in whether these occur or not, given that the law about these things is that municipalities actually don't have any right to say yes or no. It's just that if we know about it and support it, it gives them some comfort that they can go ahead without controversy. That's essentially what this is about, is it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark?
Maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but this is the way it appears to me, and it's not a question, it's just a statement. I don't know
Well,
if
we do have a resolution that we
Well,
can debate, and then you can, how about if
Can
we
I,
do
can I
that?
put my, I'll put a question mark on the end of it then.
Raise your voice.
Okay. What I'm looking at right now is we have a salesperson here from a rooftop solar panel company that in 10 minutes is asking us to decide on a resolution that has all kinds of opportunities for things to go left, right, up, down, that we don't know, myself, again, speaking for myself, that I don't know where any of this goes, especially after what we went through last time, to make a decision to support their resolution for their project. On short notice. We don't have information on any projects, let alone one project. So for us to let one go, then we might as well let them all go. So I'm thinking that we should just do nothing tonight, ask for more information, and if anything, it should come, they should be the one doing the homework and providing us with more information, let alone us chasing it down on our end. And again, we just don't have enough information from off what we went through last time. Let's take our time and be very careful. And maybe we should be really careful. There's my question.
Should we be careful is your question? I
Be very
think-
careful.
I think next time, Counselor, you'd be more in order to have that type of debate when we debate the resolution as opposed to
Okay.
asking questions of the presenter. The Counselor had a chance to say something. Would you like to respond to that?
By way of the Mayor, I understand your concern. I don't actually believe in my heart of hearts that what we're asking you to support this evening in terms of the OPA resolution is as impactful as your previous experience would lead you to believe. But if doing your due diligence, if my working with your planning department, I can certainly serve up all of the policy documentation. I can serve up what is tantamount to a tome that came out of the city of Mississauga that gives you kind of the history of solar power and rooftop solar. If that would be of use to you, I would be more than happy to furnish you with referrals from, you know, other very progressive municipalities in the renewable space, and any other documentation that you would like. It's not by way of lack of desire to make you feel well versed that I'm here tonight. It's surely by the approach methodology that we've taken. Some folks would have referred us directly to staff, and others allow us to access council. So if we go back to staff and give you comfort, that's great too.
Thank you very much, Ms. Clark. I appreciate your presentation and your answering the comments and questions from members of council. I do have a resolution here. It's moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Papp, that the information received from the Solar Power Network regarding provincial feed-in tariff programs in the town of Pelham be received. I think Councillor Papp, you have an amendment?
Yes, I would ask that the following amendment be attached to that resolution, and that this matter be referred to staff to provide additional information regarding the ramifications of endorsing this blanket resolution.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kersey. Any debate on that amendment? Councillor Clark?
Perhaps this should slip by our legal department for a comment.
Mr. CAO, I would presume that under staff, we would say the legal department could be included in that?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Papp, I guess there's no date on that. It seems
Well,
that the presenter is
yeah.
timely, so perhaps at our next council meeting?
And be brought back for a report to council on August the 13th.
Okay, thank you. Other discussion regarding the amendment? I'm going to call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is, the amendment is carried. And now to the motion as amended. Any further discussion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That amended motion is carried. Thank you very much. We look forward to you working together with staff to provide that information to us. Councillor, can you have that? So that Kate has it. Maybe Kate can. Thank you very much, Ms. Clark, for your presentation. Thank you. The next item of business is adoption of minutes. We have a few minutes here. It has been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor Papp, that the minutes of the following council meeting be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. 1, special council meeting of June 14th, 2012. 2, regular meeting of June 18th. 3, special council of June 25th. And 4, special council of July 9th, 2012. Any errors or omissions in any of those? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is consent agenda items for consideration in block. I wonder if members of council would like to lift any of those items for separate consideration. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to lift item 10.2C and 10.2D. One is the resolution from Lambton Shores, and the other is a letter from the Minister of State.
I'm sorry, I thought you said B, but you said D as in dog.
D as
C as in cat and D as in dog.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Others? Thank you. Thank you. It has been moved by Counselor Papp, second by Counselor Durley. The following consent agenda items be received and approved. 10.1, the minutes of general committee meeting, June 18th, 2012, and recommendation sheet. Delegations 1 and 2, consent agenda 1, planning and development 1 to 3, corporate services 1, community and infrastructure services 1 to 3, and the in-camera item number 1. 10.2, information correspondence items received to July 11th, 2012. We have 4 from the Regional Municipality of Niagara, 1 from the Integrated Community Planning Department regarding the Cultural Capital of Canada, the second from the Office of the Clerk regarding a resolution regarding unsolicited proposals, another from the Clerk's Office regarding the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, and finally a media release regarding seniors riding free on the Niagara Regional Transit July 16th, through to, that's today, until Labor Day. Next, we have one from the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, and Treasurers of Ontario. And then under 10.3, minutes from various boards and committees. The Pelham Active Transportation Committee, meeting of May 15th, 2012. Canada Day Committee, meeting of June 11th, 2012. And Pelham Summerfest Committee meetings of May 30th and June 20th. And also the Pelham Community Policing Committee, June 20th, 2012. Under 10.4, we have minutes of General Committee meeting of June 25th, 2012, special meeting, GC 18, 2012, and recommendation sheet, planning recommendation sheet number 1. Under 10.5, we have report P3012, building permit and complaint report, second quarter 2012. 10.6, minutes of General Committee meeting of June 18th, 2012, special meeting, GC 16, 2012. And finally, 10.7, report P3212, application for exemption from, let's lift that one separately. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's a different one. Application for exemption of part lot control, PLC 112, Village of Chestnut Ridge Mountain View Homes, Niagara Limited. Sorry, I thought it was a different item for which a member had a conflict. I would like to start, I'm gonna start on this. I usually let council start, but I would like to congratulate our town clerk. There's an item of correspondence here. I'm trying to find it. Here it is from the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, and Treasurers of Ontario, which indicates that our clerk, Ms. Bizzato, has graduated from AMCTO's Executive Diploma course in Municipal Management. And as it states here, the Association's Executive Diploma in Municipal Management, we believe this is a tremendous accomplishment and should be regarded with pride in your municipality. It states in the letter, Ms. Bizzato has successfully completed the rigorous evaluation process to graduate from this diploma program, and we hope that you and your colleagues on council will join us in congratulating Ms. Bizzato on a significant achievement. And certainly, on behalf of council, I want to congratulate you for this significant achievement. It's wonderful that you continue to do schooling of higher nature and get the diploma. I know you've worked at it for a very long time, so congratulations to you. Thank you and congratulations.
Amen.
Amen.
Are there other items for which members of council would like to discuss under consent agenda? Councilor Ribia.
Just a quick comment. I just want to thank staff for making the change that they did to the complaint report. I find it a whole lot easier to read, and I appreciate that they took our comments and worked with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Others? Councilor Papp?
Just to pick up where you left off, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Bizzato, as a former instructor with the AMCTO for over 25 years, I know the extensive, rigorous curriculum you have to go through and the time that you may have to make a commitment to it. So, Nancy, you're right. On behalf of many of us, we'd be lost many times because you're the go-to person, and you truly deserve this honor. And keep going, and who knows, maybe you'll be writing a book about municipal administration and about us. Give it a coffee. Give it a coffee.
Their names, please. Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor Pat, and congratulations again. Others on any of the items here? I do have a question. I don't know that staff can answer this. It is regarding the building permit and complaint report. Interesting to note that there's quite a change over the last 3 months from the prior 3 months. The prior 3 months, we were above the last couple of years, and now we are below those last couple of years, and the number of new single-family homes is down. I wonder if staff know whether this is a trend across Niagara or larger than that. Do we have any reason to account for this type of change? Mr. Larmer?
No.
You don't?
I don't know that it's a trend across Niagara. I know that we have a dwindling supply of vacant lots in the subdivisions, and a lot of the lots are the same size. So I suspect it's just a little bit of a summer slowdown. But I think that we're also seeing the impact of not having a variety of lots available in the municipality. Mr. Jennings will be attending the Chief Building Officials Niagara meeting in the short term. I can ask him to check and see what the other 11 municipalities are experiencing.
Okay, thank you. I think it'd be important to note that, and if Mr. Jennings can check with other municipalities, I think that'd be helpful. Perhaps you could get back to us
I'll do that.
on that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Any other items under the consent agenda? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. Councillor Durley, you lifted item C as in cat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's from the Council of the Municipality of Lambton Shores. We have had some controversy with cell towers in our town and in our region. They are asking the Government of Canada to have a good look at just exactly what we did go through. I would like to make a motion that we endorse and support this. The more they hear about it, I think the more we will have an opportunity to correct what we feel are not the proper forms of pursuing erection of these things. So I make a motion that we support and endorse the Lambton Shores resolution and notify them as such.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Clark? So we do have it moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor Clark, that communication item 10.2 be received and the resolution contained therein passed by the Council of the Municipality of Lambton Shores regarding the requested change of the federal guidelines for telecommunication towers be endorsed and supported. This resolution forwarded to the Government of Canada and local members of Parliament. Are there others that would like to comment, debate this issue? Councillor Clark?
Just further to what Councillor Durley said, this is similar to the solar tower that we had happen like a couple weeks after. It would appear that the municipalities do not have a great deal of authority or power to have input as to where these go. So I think that is important that we, as a local community ourselves and others, should have some input on that.
Okay, thank you. Others? Councillor Kersey?
My only comment is, in general principles, I would support them. However, I think the reliance upon the health issue as being the number one criteria is difficult to support, because I really think that that's an issue that's really up in the air, and a lot of the information that gets brought forward in public meetings is information that's picked up on the internet and is really unsupported, is anecdotal, and really not backed up by science. If they were putting it forward based on sighting and visual impact and all of that sort of things, I'd feel a lot happier in supporting the motion. I'm just a little bit leery on supporting it because it's of the reliance on the health issues that they're raising.
Okay, thank you. Others? I think it's interesting and timely, given the discussion that we've had around this council table and previous council regarding cell towers, but also I think timely because of what the federal government did last week. And what they did was they said that they wanted to study wind towers because there'd been so many calls across the country, and I know predominantly in Ontario, where there are new wind towers being constructed, that they actually are studying that. So perhaps, and those that have been raising those issues on wind towers saw that as a hopeful sign. Perhaps the same type of, this resolution can help the federal government do the same type of thing with Health Canada to study the health effects, because there are so many people concerned about it. Can one determine once and for all whether these actually affect people or to what effect they are? So I am supportive of the resolution, and I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Durley, you also had item D.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the letter from the Minister of State Science and Technology and the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. It announces the fact that there is a $49.6 million community infrastructure improvement fund that is available. And I read from the letter, infrastructure such as community centers, cultural centers, and local sports facilities serve as important gathering places for families and contribute to building prosperous communities. What is meant here is I know we have a large inventory of recreational and cultural buildings and properties in town that are in various states of repair or disrepair, or certainly we can pour some money into them. So I would like to have received this and perhaps direct staff to explore the possibilities of applying for, and hopefully we can be successful in getting some of these grants and some of this money that we can, actually it's part, we'll have to put some money out, but they'll give us some money to do it. And in fact, if we can get some of these funds from senior levels of government, that would help us in bringing some of our facilities up to a standard. And certainly our staff will know the priorities that are there. Some buildings are better than others, and some are near their best before date. So in fact, those that are, we can perhaps update them.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kersey. So it's been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor Kersey, that communication item 10.2D from the Minister of State be received and referred to staff to investigate possible programs that may be appropriate to make an application. Any further discussion on that? I note that there's a timeline here of August 24th, so this is another one that's one has to hurry on. Any further discussion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item of business is presentation, consideration of correspondence requiring action. We have one item. It's been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor Papp, that action communication item 1, agenda item 12.1, being a letter from the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Ontario requesting that the town of Pelham waive the fees associated with the Centennial Park passive area to be used for the Pedal 100 for Heart and Stroke Recreation Cycling event be received, and that the request be approved, subject to the town's risk management protocols and requirements. Discussion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The clerk has indicated for information, it's Sunday, August 19th from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Thank you very much. We look forward to that event in our community. The next item is reports from members of council. I guess I'm the only one with a slew of reports here, and I'll try to, I was quick for everybody else, so we'll try and go quickly here. My first report is regarding the E.L. Crosley graduation of June 28th, 2012. I was in honor again of attending the E.L. Crosley graduation. It was the 49th annual commencement exercises, and much was discussed about it being the 49th and next year being the 50th. That took place on Wednesday, June 18th. I was there to, very pleased to help award the Town of Pelham scholarships to Emma Giesbrecht and Michael Prizny. The valedictorian address was offered by Emily Durand, and the Governor General's academic medal was awarded to Stephen Norwood, very high, prestigious. It was a wonderful graduation ceremony, and Crosley staff do make it so personal in which they talk about the grads and where they're going next. And so congratulations to Crosley for that ceremony, but most importantly to the grads and their families. The next item is the Pelham Mayor's Youth Advisory Council update on June 28th. There are a couple of events that the MEAC is working on right now, and I wanted to inform council about them. The first is in relation to Summerfest with the Friday night, which is the Niagara Nights of Art. They're organizing something called the Young Artists Art Display, which is part of AmpFest. You'll recall a few years ago that the MEAC tried to do art and music in the park. This is the art component of that. So that's going to be set for Friday, July 20th as part of this Night of Art from 4 till 10 p.m. The Art Festival will be judging the artwork, and selected pieces will receive honorariums. So it's a very interesting piece, and there's different medium in which you can participate in it. All of the visual arts, they include drawing, painting, photography, 3D, recycled eco art. We also have a film portion to this as well. Council will recall that last year we did the outdoor film event, and there's that plan again coming up at the end of August, and it was thought that youth in our community could put forward film pieces, short films, that could be then showed maybe in between two films. So that's coming up, and the plan is to show those young filmmakers movies. So those are available on the website and how one can submit, and our website is www.pelham.ca. Finally, regarding the MEAC, the music portion of AmpFest winners, Greg Massenger Band will be performing on the main stage as part of Summerfest on Saturday, July 21st at 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And it'd certainly be great to have all of council there to be there to cheer them on. I know the MEAC will be there cheering them on. So the MEAC continues, even though that was one of their final meetings of the year. They continue to be very active in our community. The next item is the Pelham Diamond Jubilee Garden Party. It was certainly appreciative of members of council to be present at that, and I wanted to highlight and appreciate those that were involved in that. This was to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the reign of Queen Elizabeth II and the role of her as being the crown in Canada, and our traditions and history and symbols of our value and institutions. It included a flag party by the Lincoln branch of the 613 Royal Canadian Army Cadets, and also the singing of the national anthem and the singing of God Save the Queen. We also unveiled the portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, which is displayed prominently behind us. I think that's a temporary setting right now for this council meeting, and staff will work to make it more permanent, as well as the crest, which has been moved down below, and I think that will be permanent as well. As part of this special Diamond Jubilee, we had some special guests who were pouring the tea. Eleanor Fisher, who is the president of the Pelham Senior Citizens Association and has been the president for 21 years. Sandra Warden, who is the Pelham Citizen of the Year for 2011. Gail Hilliard, Pelham Citizen of the Year for 2010. And Diane Hubbard, a former Town of Pelham councillor. This kind of event certainly couldn't go on without the involvement of staff, but also volunteers, and they included Del Laney, Tove Bowman, Pat Duncan, Bev Lovejoy, Jane Watson, Diane Waters, and members of the staff, including Vicki Van Ravensway, Nancy Youngblood, and I know Ms. Bizzato was there as well, and there were significant sponsors to that event. So thank you for that event. There's also, I think, a way in which people can participate in it and say what they thought about it online on the town's website, what they thought about that event. So please do that. And Councillor Ribiak will remind us of that website at another occasion. www.pelham.ca. And finally, just wanted to highlight and thank members of council for being there again at the Canada Day celebrations, and also staff for organizing it, and the community. It was a great celebration this year, celebrating Canada Day, and as it was interesting to see as part of the speech. Council will recall that I gave a speech. There was hand clapping is when I spoke about Pelham being the most vibrant, creative, and caring community in all of Niagara, and members there of the crowd there thought that was something that they want to be proud of, as well as our country on that day. So I wanted to thank, on behalf of Council, the Pelham Community Policing Committee that marshaled the parade, the Rotary Club of Fonthill and District that provided those wonderful free children activities that were organized differently this year and went off so well, the Fonthill Lions and Lioness Clubs who orchestrated the food booth, again, the Branch 613 Army Cadets who provided security and direction, and also an Honor Guard Canada Day Committee organizing the entire day, including Fred Arbor, Shirley Bedard, Fred Disher, Bob Gibson, Leo Giovinazzo, Diane Kelly, and Lance Weeb, and also the town staff from our Community Services Department, Vicki Van Ravensway, Katie Thorpe, and so many others that helped make that 22nd Annual Canada Day celebration a success. So on behalf of Council, thank you very much to the community for coming out and to all those who helped organize that event. Thank you. I also, thank you, Madam Clerk, reminded that Councillor Durley has a report. I indicated it was just one report. Councillor Durley has a report as well. Councillor Durley.
I shall be very, very brief. I'm very pleased to announce that Betty Ann DeMardo, a very active and dedicated member of the Heritage Pelham Committee, has been appointed to the Board of Directors of the Community Heritage Ontario organization. Betty Ann not only serves on the Heritage Pelham Committee, she's also the Vice Chair. So I would really like to congratulate Betty Ann on her appointment to the CHO Board and wish her well, and I'm sure she will do very well, but I wanted the public to know that her dedication is far beyond just dealing with Pelham. She is representing Pelham at that higher level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Durley, and certainly we, all of us offer congratulations to her. Thank you for that. The next item of business is 13.2, staff reports requiring action. The first has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor Ribbiak, that report P2912, applications for official plan and zoning bylaw amendments and draft plan of subdivisions, file number AM0210 and 26T19-10001, Oak Haven Estates, Equimor Mortgage Investment Corporation, part of lots 15, concession 9, former township of Pelham, now the town of Pelham, be received, and that the recommendations contained therein be approved as follows. That for reasons outlined in reports P2512 and P2912, Council approve Oak Haven Estates draft plan of subdivision in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act as amended and regulations thereafter, subject to the conditions appended in the report as attachment number 1, that all parties be advised of council decision on this application in accordance with provincial regulations, that the mayor be authorized to endorse the draft plan as approved 20 days after notice of council's decision has been given, provided that no appeals against the decision have been registered, that the applicant be advised that the town's draft approval of the subdivision plan will lapse 3 years from the date of draft plan approval unless an extension of the approval period is granted by town council. If an extension is requested, an updated review and revisions to the conditions of approval may be necessary at that time. That the official plan amendment application AM0210 be approved to expand the Fenwick sanitary sewer area and reduce the lot area requirement. The staff be directed to prepare and present the necessary documents adopting the bylaw for consideration by council. That zoning amendment application AM0210 be approved and the lands being rezoned to a residential village 1 RV1 zone, a residential village multiple 1 RMV1, and an open space zone, but that the bylaw not be passed by council until such time as the related subdivision receives draft plan approval and the appeal period for the draft plan approval has expired. And further, that the amending bylaw place an H holding provision on the zoning of the lands and that the said provision not be removed until such time as the subdivision agreement is signed and registered on title. Discussion to the motion before us. Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks to Oak Haven, and Oak Haven, we can recall, had in its public meeting a lot of comment with regard to some concerns. And I just wanted to articulate some of those concerns as I understand them, because I think that the amount of effort that went into people articulating them, it's worth our bringing them back to mind today. I would like to say that the developer has indicated a great desire to work with the residents of the area in satisfying that those concerns can be met, and I want to commend them for that as we begin this. I think it's important that developers do take seriously what residents in the area feel, but perhaps more importantly also what they know to be the conditions in the place, and not to take those items too lightly and perhaps to ignore them in their planning. So some of those concerns, I think the one articulated most frequently and about which most concern is expressed has to do with water management, the proposals with regard to how water, and not just storm water, but groundwater and surface water can be managed in the area. There are particular requirements there, there are particular conditions there, and I think residents in the area who know them well are concerned that the planning as they've seen it so far doesn't adequately address those particular issues. Now, this is an area where the developer has indicated that they will undertake to gather much more information, much more data. They've indicated that they're going to look at data that was gathered previously in the Cherry Ridge area. And certainly I've received assurance that if that data is inadequate to providing them with good information about what happens in the spring when the water is most obvious, then they'll do the necessary testing to get that information. So those are items I think that are pretty important. The concern, of course, has to do with how water will be treated or made available into the system going out of the area, and they're concerned that in fact in the future if the pond is not adequately designed, then we may find ourselves with issues as we have found already in the neighboring development sometime in the future. So that's one area of concern was water management. Another area of concern had to do with the fill that had been placed on that development over a number of years. The fill represents, I guess, two issues to neighbors. One, of course, is what is the fill made of? And people are concerned that if that fill has within it any dangerous or toxic materials, that it be identified and it be cleaned up. And indeed, the conditions that I read in this application addresses that. The other concern, of course, is that there is an enormous amount of fill that has been brought into that area and has raised the elevation of that entire development to a considerable extent. It was done legally, of course, and it was done because I think at the town, even if it had noted that it was happening, was not in a position to have done anything about it. That will be a discussion for another day. I don't know that we're any better prepared now. Hopefully, we will have a way that we can prevent the kind of issue that developed there from developing. But bottom line is that there is a huge elevation change in that development, and it makes it a matter of concern to residents that in fact a development will be put on top of that, and it'll be put on a hill, and it becomes kind of obtrusive, I guess, to the character of the area. And the third area of concern that was expressed to me, and I think to all of us, has to do with density. People are very concerned about density there, and I guess one of the issues about density is that it is related to water management. The more dense, the more compactly development is done in an area, the more opportunity there is for runoff, less opportunity there is for water to be absorbed. And hopefully, I guess people hope that in considering the issues of the management of water, that there will be some balance between the need to deal with water and the appropriate density, the appropriate kind of development that will nevertheless allow water to be managed appropriately. The other issue about density has to do with transition between the relatively low density communities around the proposed Oak Haven and the fact that a high-density, a small development of high density plunked in the middle of relatively less dense development is going to create some issues. Some of them are aesthetic, some of them are social, some of them are cultural, but nevertheless, it's an issue that people are concerned about. It's such a small development that the transition zones between the new and the old are perforce very small. There isn't a great opportunity to move from one to the other in any graduated sort of way. So it's going to be, people are concerned, I think, that the level of density is going to be inappropriate for the community. I don't know how that can be handled other than either through better design or a reduction in density, but those are the concerns that have been raised, Mr. Mayor, and I just thought I'd raise them and make sure that we make note that those have been brought forward. And I would say that they have been brought forward in a credible and fact-based sort of way by people with not only a great deal of concern but a great deal of knowledge, and it would be foolish, I think, to ignore the kind of knowledge that has and information that has been made available in considering this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for bringing that forward, Councillor. Appreciate it. Other members of Council to the motion before us? There being none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Okay, let's do that again. All those in favor?
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah, go
We were
ahead.
circulated prior to the meeting a different clause 24 to the list of conditions. Are we in fact voting on the conditions as they are presented in the report or as altered by way of the circulation?
We are voting on it as in the report. Mr. Lorimer, can you provide additional
correct.
information?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Councillor Clark.
Well, two things. Further to Councilor Ribbiak, I still have concerns about the density, but that's, I guess, powers, marching orders again from Toronto. We're stuck with that. I've spoken about that in the past. But this new item 24 does create some confusion. Like if we have this change, what is the weight of it if we don't attach it to this?
We just talked about it. We're going to ignore it.
Mr. Lorimer?
The wording that is in the report, condition number 24 and attachment number 1 to the report is what I was recommending. Consultants, the applicant's consultant is here this evening. I think the applicant stood up. They have not requested a delegation before the municipality, but I did receive that email, and I indicated that I would forward it to council. So I did do that. I've explained to the applicant's agent that I am still recommending the condition that is before you under attachment number 1.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
Again, I don't understand. So what is the point of this then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as I indicated, I received that by email late this afternoon. I indicated to the agent that I would pass it along to you. That's all.
But it has no impact on what we're talking about. Do we want to discuss the 224s before we do this?
Madam Clerk, you're writing me a note. What are you?
I'm just one person, and I don't fully understand it.
Oh, I see.
They are here to answer questions.
Okay. The clerk has indicated that the applicant is here and the applicant's representative is here. If members of council have questions regarding this correspondence, it would require consent of council to allow the applicant to essentially answer your question. So you want to know the answer to your question, and would you ask council to let the applicant?
I'm asking council, can we ask the question?
Okay. Council, can we get that answer from, okay. Can either the applicant or the applicant's representative, Mr. Bedford, thank you for joining us.
Just if I
Go ahead. I think we're just going to have you, answer that question from Councillor Clark. Go ahead, Councillor. Just a second, Mr. Bedford. Councillor Clark.
The question is what are the differences between 24 that's in our report from Mr. Larmer and the 24 that we have separately?
Mr. Bedford.
We were concerned about the rigor required by the condition number 24 that Craig has recommended, given the fact that there has already been a phase 1 approved. However, we have, after this afternoon, we bounced back and forth with some suggested ideas with respect to the final condition. Late this afternoon, I sent a final suggestion, which you have in front of you. We're prepared, in fact, to go with Craig's recommendation, number 24, as
Okay, thank you.
So this came, I guess my question is, just to disregard this. So I guess now my question is to Mr. Larmer. He's happy with the 24 that he has in over this one?
I think he's indicated that already.
Correct.
Okay, no, I'm just making sure.
Okay, since Mr. Bedford's there, any other questions for him regarding this particular item? Thank you very much, Mr. Bedford. Thank you. Anything else from members of council? Then I am going to call the question now, and we're going to count the votes, and please let me see your hands. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you for helping us with that question. The next item is report P31. And it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak, that report P3112, application for partial discharge of site plan agreement, 170 Highway 20 West, Robert Zaworski, be received for information. Any discussion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. Can we get Councillor Kersey back in the room, please? Thank you. Now we have a report from Regional Councillor Brian Beatty. Thank you for joining us, Councillor.
Mayor, I get to do something about my back there. It's for Mr. Mayor, members of council and staff, to report before you with regard to past meetings, June 26th and 7th meetings, followed by the July 5th council meeting. At corporate services, there was two presentations. One was on the topic of Niagara debt and the status of Niagara debt. And what I've been told by people who serve in that committee is that it was a very comprehensive report and probably had better news than what people had thought in terms of what our status is. But there's been some significant changes, both at the senior management level and in this department, and I think we're on the right track in terms of taking care of properly putting money where they should be and not exceeding our debt limits. There was also a presentation on public purchasing. We approved a 2012 debenture issue not to exceed $31 million, so I want to make that clear. That's for the region as well as any communities, local communities who want to run their debentures through the region. That's customary practice. Approved initiation of Niagara Regional Police Service capital asset acquisition, a very small amount, relatively speaking, $108,589. And we approved closure and budget changes for a number of capital projects, finishing them off for the past couple of years. Approved initiation of funding for a significant housing development on Bridge Street in Welland, slightly close to $10 million in total. Now that does include external funding for both the province and the federal government. And I recommended that the unfunded long-term debt in the amount of just over $11.5 million be approved for substitution with capital reserves. In other words, rather than going out in the marketplace and borrowing money, using capital reserves and putting them down to avoid taking on excess debt. The Integrated Community Planning Committee received presentations with respect to the critical municipal captain's official plan and approved that plan with modifications. However, we deferred one amendment concerning specific property that's in West St. Catharines. We received the final recommendation report on the Niagara Gateway Economic Zone and Center Regional Policy Plan Amendment RPA 1 2012. The revisions were approved and recommendations will be subject to a review period and an appeal period. But it's been a long, and for me, it's been a very uniquely Niagara story in terms of when Places to Grow Draft 1 and 2 came out. There was nothing special in terms of economic development for Niagara. We did achieve recognition in the final draft for the economic zone, which is basically the Niagara Falls, Queen Elizabeth, Fort Erie corridor, and the center, which is basically Thorold and Canal Parkway up towards Port Colborne. And we've got a number of significant business incentives and I think good incentives in terms of promoting that area. There was a good first strike, I think, in having the Hayes Dana plant being acquired by a Chinese firm for wind towers, in terms of, they're talking about putting a dock in on that facility. And there's several occasions along the canal we're looking at enhancing the docking capability and the capability for rail to dock movement, which we don't have at the moment. It's a case where we had both at committee and then finally at council requests for relief from development charges from Skydive Burnaby. It was denied totally at committee, and there was an attempt at council to reduce it by 50%. That too was denied. We approved a change to the fee and charges bylaw. That was really a housekeeping event because of the changes in the clerk's office and so on. It's basically to include the fees for a regional flag. And finally, referred several procedural items which have gone to meeting after meeting and have been deferred with regard to a business planning meeting coming up later this year on governance issues. Those issues that we referred were a code of conduct for members of council, rather timely topic on certain evenings, policy on the filling of vacancies in the office of regional councillor with regard to what happened in Welland and trying to make certain that there aren't those sort of variations for the future. And finally, the issue of quorum for committees other than standing committees. It's been very strong. I think we'll approve that at standing committees we need to have the majority of councillors there. But when it comes to the volunteer committees where people are coming from across Niagara serving in a volunteer capacity, it's sometimes very difficult to get the full quorum. So we're looking at having some alternate means, perhaps saying the majority of councillors on that committee are there for the quorum. Public Health and Social Services Committee received a report, and I did an article in the papers about Information Niagara 211 service, and it's a case where there's a very significant increase in that. And I didn't realize until that presentation that while it's happening in Niagara, they've expanded to take on Central and Halton area and so on. So it's a business that basically is growing in Niagara, serving Niagarans on the first stage, but increasing their capability in terms around the province. I'm told by the end of the year, all of Ontario will have the 211 service availability. Reproved, and I made a mistake, double click on the two there for this. It's 2012 Community Services Audit Financial Schedules and also the schedules for the public health. And we were introduced to the new Director of Senior Services. She has big shoes to follow, but so did the gentleman who was there. We started with Douglas Applejay and Dominic Ventresca, and now we have Henriette Koning was introduced. She has a very strong background in gerontology, business administration, and senior services program, and has municipal experience in Muskoka and Halton region. People in Welland, I think people in Pelham will be very happy to hear that we approved a tender for the reconstruction of Niagara Street in Welland from Woodlawn Road to Quaker Road that exceeds $3 million. Excluding the taxes, and received a report on the 2011 reserve water and wastewater treatment capacities and servicing strategy update for Niagara Lake water and wastewater treatment plan. We've had a plan for some time that facility is on the DND property, which is being considered for other possible venues for Niagara, and we've had for some time a request of both the federal and provincial government to help fund the movement of that plant and getting rid of the sewage lagoons, which seems rather inappropriate to me for sewage treatment in this day and age. We did receive a notice of the study closure for the QEW Glendale Highway 405 class environmental assessment. My understanding there is one of the features that they were looking for is a possible turnoff to the 405 coming from the Fort Erie direction. In particular, big facilities such as the racetrack that's being proposed, that may be a route to the United States where currently you can access it by going towards Niagara Falls and veering off to the left, but you can't access it coming from the right. Received a report and supported the valid UPass program for Brock University and Niagara College to be used on the regional routes next year. That's on as a fee-for-service basis. This year was done on a trial basis for this current year, but there's a basic contract that's been entered into with Brock and Niagara College. We received a report on the Niagara GTA Corridor Planning and Environmental Assessment, the EA study, Phase 1, as amended, and directed staff to request the Ministry to accelerate Phase 2. In support of the corridor south of Netherby Road and use of the Town Line Tunnel, that's something that we see in our regional plan for transportation, and we're hoping that we see that the province too has a belief that there's some need to connect the 406 with the Peace Bridge area. We may be able to partner on that particular project in the near future. And we did ask the staff continue to promote the Mid-Peninsula Corridor connecting to Highway 401 south of John Munro. There's a difference between the Mid-Peninsula Corridor and the Niagara GTA. The difference being that the Mid-Peninsula Corridor connects on the escarpment. It doesn't cross down the escarpment, and that was the big concern for Halton, not wanting another major highway interchange going down across the Niagara escarpment. So our plan here is to talk about joining the 406 where it is in Welland up to the 401 south of the John Munro Airport. At Council itself, we met and received a presentation from the new Chief of Police, Jeff McGuire, and received a presentation, as you did at your council, regarding the Big Move Cancer Ride, and a very well presented frame of arms of the Brock the arms of the Brock of Guernsey and the arms of Major General Sir Isaac Brock. And finally, presented the T. Roy Adams Humanitarian of the Year Award for 2012. We meet again on July 26th in open session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, for your comprehensive report. I wonder if members of council have any questions for you at this time. Councillor Papp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Councillor Beatty. The item with respect to the St. Catharines official plan, do you know, and if you don't, how long it took them to have this plan approved from the time of submission from St. Catharines?
I can't tell you. I don't know that. It has been some time. I'm going to guess 2 years, but
2 years.
maybe wrong on that.
Thank you.
That is in question. You'll recognize it as being, we go towards the new hospital. There's a property that has a golf driving range.
Right.
And it's a very difficult situation for those folks who they're outside the urban boundary, but because of the 406 and salt, et cetera, first of all, they had a lot of the properties expropriated. The salt damage just made it almost impossible for agriculture, and they're wanting to have that particular property included in the urban area for expansion for business.
I think it may have been slightly shorter than that in terms of the St. Catharines official plan. It was approved at the city in 2009. Then there were some changes that were made, so it wasn't totally complete in that. So I think it was more recently. I don't know if Mr. Lorimer can shed any light on that, but I think the St. Catharines plan wasn't the complete 2 years. There were some changes that occurred, and then they kind of went back to the drawing board a bit. Mr. Lorimer, are you aware of the?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact timeline on any of the official plans that have gone before. I know Welland, Grimsby, St. Catharines have all been recently approved. It all depends on the amount of contact that was had with the region in advance of the documents being submitted and the compliance, where they were in the conformity exercise with the places to grow and the provincial policy statement, the Greenbelt plan. So I don't think it's fair to say it took them that long. It's going to take us this long. So.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
Just to follow up, Mr. Lermer, my point is that, and you can pretty well tell where I'm going with this, is that, and it's nothing to do with either one of you, it's a matter of expeding what we consider to be a very large project, and we've spent so much time on our official plan, and whatever efforts can be, both from a staff point of view, to move our plan along for approval, it would be greatly appreciated, because I get deeply concerned. I'm only speaking from where we do all this and then we wait. I mean, I'm trusting and I've got faith that it'll be more sooner than later, so that we can move ahead with those projects that we are looking at, both along Highway 20, Fenwick, whatever the case may be. So that's why I was curious, because I get these mixed messages, and time is the essence, particularly when we're looking at people who are prepared to invest money and time and knowledge into our community. So I'm trusting that, and that's why I was asking, and I didn't know whether you knew or not, but it just seems like, both of you, I think, know we're anxious to get going, and unless there's something outstanding there, and I'm confident that we'll get through this sooner than later.
My recollection is it hasn't been dragged up by the process. There's been parcels of activity that people have come forward wanting amendments.
Right.
And obviously the location of the hospital has changed the whole.
Oh, I agree.
Dynamics of that end of the city.
But I think what I'm getting at is with ours, I'm not aware of any other major impediments, unless the region comes back and says there's components of it that are not compatible with what their, grow south or places to grow plan. It's just a anxiety on my part of moving things forward. Then all of us as council want to see us in a position where we say that particular document is done, and the rest of it will, hopefully we can follow along that over the next 12 months. That's all.
I think it's an excellent point, especially given what Mr. Lorimer indicated in terms of lots that are available in town.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Earlier. So perhaps it's something that I know I keep asking kind of behind the scenes at the region
Right.
about it and where's it going, and certainly talking to staff here, but perhaps it's something that Councillor Beatty and I can work on and get
all I'm
back to council at our next council meeting if there's a proposed schedule there. I did hear by the end of the year, and I said, you mean Labor Day? And so we'll see if we can expedite
That would be nice.
Slightly, and perhaps Councillor Beatty, you and I can
Even at ICP on
can
Wednesday.
raise it on Wednesday and see if we can get the timing. That's all I'm asking to council. So thank you for raising that, Councillor. Anything else on Councillor Beatty's report, Councillor Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I have just a brief question. You had alluded to, at least I thought I heard you allude to incentives that were or are being put into place with respect to the Niagara Gateway Economic Zone. I just wondered if you could just expand on that a little bit, just to give me an idea of.
Yeah, there's been a fair amount of consultation between the consultant and people in the development industry and industrial business leaders and so on. And they've gone back and forth. At one point in time, and I'm not sure whether it's still there, part of one of the weighting of the application was leads capability. And I know that some people in the business say, well, leads is important, but it isn't the biggest factor. The biggest portion that I recall in discussions is the number of jobs being created in terms of the project. Both the jobs created in terms of building the site, but more importantly, the full-time jobs that will result afterwards. And it's looking at, the main target at the moment is the green industry in terms of its various forms. And it's a case where I don't know when the public rollout is, but we do have, this hasn't gone in place because there is a due diligence process of getting this report out, and I would assume it will come to local councils as well. Mm-hmm. That's where I said in my report that it's not official until we've gone through that, and there also is an appeal process. We've had, if I recall, at council 2 public meetings with regard to it, and a fair amount of input from industry, and the Chambers of Commerce obviously very, very supportive in terms of the direction. But it seemed to me that they were looking at very creative areas. They're looking at a free trade zone, for one, in terms of the unique capabilities of our multimodal transportation capability. So to me, it's fairly exciting. The example has been given of a community in Germany that had nothing and basically re-engineered itself in terms of the green energy, and it seems to me 6,500 jobs or something of that nature resulted in a very short, I think a 13-year turnaround period. So it's some very exciting possibility.
Thank you. And if I'm just going to add to that some of the incentives, you can think of this similar to a downtown CIP. So some of the incentives are a waiving of development charge, and that's mapped out in a certain geographic area. There is hope to work with the province and the federal government for a free trade zone. But currently, the allowance for these incentives are actually at the local level. And so now, as Councillor Beatty indicated, each municipality that's affected now has to approve the CIP locally. There was a movement to allow with the province to see if the province would approve the region being able to do it. And now they've said, well, the quickest, fastest way is if the area municipalities that are affected in this zone and center area approve the CIP. So that's the process that's going on right now.
So in fact, each municipality that's involved in that zone would declare that portion of their municipality as a CIP.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct, yeah.
So it's similar.
And so the center just kind of centers around Welland, Port Colborne, Thorold along the canal, and the zone is along the Niagara River from Fort Erie to Niagara Falls. And those are provincial designations that were built into the places to grow legislation, I believe. And so it's defining those and putting some incentives.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Just want to comment, council will recall that we are part of this debenture. I think it's $850,000 roughly. Development charges. And the rate is 2.703% for a 10-year debenture. And I know that having discussed this with the treasurer, she's very, very pleased because last year it was a 3.4%. So it's an excellent rate that was achieved working together with the region. So thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, for your report. Look forward to working together with you in the committee meetings that are coming up this week, tomorrow and Wednesday. Thank you. Take care. The next item is presentation and consideration of bylaws. And I wonder if we can, because we have some members that have disclosed a pecuniary interest on these bylaws, I think it's 16.3 and 16.4. So if we could deal with 16.1 and 16.2 together, and then we'll divide those out. So it has been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, second by Councillor Durley, that leave now be given to introduce the following bylaws and dispense with the reading of the bylaws. 16.1 being a bylaw to appoint a fire chief, director of fire services for the corporation of the town of Pelham effective August 13th, 2012. And 16.2 being a bylaw to release certain lands from a site plan agreement between the town of Pelham and 851858 Ontario, Inc. Sorry, there's, sorry, at 16, I apologize. So we'll not, so it's,
So we're okay to 16.3.
16.3 is okay, sorry. So let's strike that and say it's 16.3, being a bylaw to exempt certain lands in registered plan 59M 348 from part lot control pursuant to section 50 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990. So for clarity, it's 16.1, the fire chief, and the exemption of part lot control, 16.3. Any discussion on the matter? I should say it was publicly announced regarding the fire chief, and we look forward to the new chief starting. We certainly appreciate the services of our existing chief. There will be some overlap, and I know there will be some sort of celebration to thank Chief Phelps for his work. But on behalf of council, I want to thank you very much for your ongoing work, and certainly coming back again and again and again, like the Energizer Bunny, and helping us provide the appropriate services that we need for our community. We deeply appreciate your many years of service to the community, Chief. Thank you. Go ahead, Chief.
Make it my last official council meeting then.
I think it may be. It is. But I think he's smiling. We still have general committee to get through, Chief, so.
You're welcome to come back anytime.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I guess it will be the last, and I think there's some sort of celebration, Mr. CAO.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. We'll be announcing the details shortly.
We'll appropriately fet you at that time, so thank you very much, Chief. But again, on behalf of council, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So I will call the question on those two items. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. So I think we need to then do these others, right?
Yes, number them. So it'd be,
So that,
7, 9.
so the following bylaws, so it's moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor Durley. The following bylaw have been considered first time be numbered as follows. Bylaw 3,279 and bylaw 3,281. Be now considered a second and third time and passed. The mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. Okay. So now to 16.2. It has been moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor Durley. That leave now be given to introduce the following bylaw and dispense with the reading of the bylaw. 16.2 being a bylaw to release certain lands from site plan agreement between the town of Pelham, 851858 Ontario, Inc. Discussion. There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. And now, moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor Durley. The following bylaw have been considered first time by number as follows. Bylaw 3,280, 2012. Be now considered a second, third time and passed. The mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now to 16.4. It's been moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Durley. Leave now be given to introduce the following bylaw. Dispense with the reading of the bylaw, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3217, 2011, confirming various appointments to boards, commissions, and committees of the town of Pelham, and to appoint Bill King to the Communities in Bloom Committee. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. It's moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor Durley. The following bylaw have been considered first time, be numbered as follows. Bylaw 3,282, be now considered a second and third time and passed. The mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. We need to get Councilor King. Mr. Larmer, would you please maybe open the door now? And now that she's in the room, it's been moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor King, that leave now be given to introduce the following bylaw and dispense with the reading of the bylaw, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the actions of council at its meeting held on the 16th day of July, 2012. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried. It's Moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor King. The following bylaw have been considered a first time, be numbered as follows. Bylaw 3,283, be now considered a second and third time and passed. And the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor King. This regular meeting of council be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for Monday, August 13th, 2012, unless sooner called by the mayor. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That motion is carried unanimously. We'll take a 5-minute break to committee. Thank you. Is there a way we can...
Could you, Northern Quebec,
No, that's,